My name is Victoria Hayes. I'm 29 years old, and exactly 72 hours after my mother sold my car without my permission, I discovered she'd been living a double life that would destroy our family forever. The text message arrived at 11:47 a.m. on a Tuesday morning while I was in the middle of a client presentation. Sold your old Honda today. Got $8,500 for it. You're welcome. No question mark, no apology, just a period at the end like it was the most natural thing in the world. I stared at my phone screen, my hands going numb. That wasn't just any car. That was the 2015 Honda Civic I'd bought myself with money from 3 jobs, the car I'd driven through college, through my first real job, through the worst breakup of my life. The car I'd parked at her house 2 months ago when I flew out to Singapore for a work assignment, specifically asking her to keep an eye on it. What do you mean you sold my car? I typed back, my fingers shaking. It was just sitting there taking up space in the driveway. Besides, you're making good money now. You can afford a new one. Before I explain what happened next, let me know where you're viewing from and hit subscribe if you've ever had a family member cross a boundary so massive you questioned everything you thought you knew about them. My mother, Linda Hayes, had always been what people politely called unconventional. What they really meant was that she lived in her own reality where normal rules somehow didn't apply to her. Growing up, I learned early that nothing in our house was truly mine. Birthday presents disappeared and reappeared as gifts for her friends' children. Money I earned from babysitting somehow always ended up borrowed for her emergency expenses that were never emergencies and never got paid back. My older brother Daniel got the worst of it. At 16, he saved $2,400 from 2 summers of lawn mowing to buy his first car. Mom took the money 3 days before he was supposed to make the purchase, claiming she needed it for property taxes. The taxes were real, but Daniel never saw a cent returned. He moved out the day he turned 18 and kept his distance ever since, living in Portland with minimal contact. I thought I'd learned to protect myself. I'd moved out at 22, kept my finances completely separate, and maintained what I thought were healthy boundaries. But clearly, I'd gotten too comfortable, too trusting. Parking my car at her house for 2 months while I was overseas turned out to be the mistake that would finally open my eyes. To really understand why this car sale was so much more than just a car sale, you'd have to go back 5 years to when my father died. Dad had been the stabilizing force in our family, the one who quietly cleaned up Mom's messes and shielded us from the worst of her impulsive decisions. After his death, something in her seemed to crack wide open. Within 6 months, she'd quit her job as a dental receptionist, claiming she needed time to find herself. Within a year, she'd blown through most of Dad's life insurance money on what she called healing retreats and spiritual investments. I watched her savings account drop from $87,000 to under $3,000 in 14 months. My best friend Rachel, who'd known my family since we were 12, saw it all clearly. "Your mom's not grieving, Vic," she told me one night over wine. "She's using grief as an excuse to do whatever she wants without consequences. And she knows you'll never call her out because you feel guilty about your dad." Rachel was right, but I wasn't ready to admit it then. I kept making excuses, kept trying to be understanding. Dad would have wanted me to look after her, I told myself. She's going through something difficult, I reasoned. She'll stabilize eventually. But she didn't stabilize. She spiraled. And I was so busy managing my own career, trying to make it in the competitive world of tech consulting, that I missed the signs of just how far she'd fallen. The first real warning came 18 months ago when Mom asked to borrow $5,000 for what she claimed was emergency dental work. She'd let her insurance lapse, she explained, and had a tooth abscess that needed immediate attention. I transferred the money that same day, worried about her health. 2 weeks later, I saw photos on her Facebook page. She was in Sedona, Arizona, at some kind of wellness retreat, grinning in front of red rock formations with a group of women in matching tie-dye shirts. "Finding my truth," the caption read, with about 15 hashtags about self-discovery and healing. When I called her out gently, she got defensive. The retreat was already paid for before the tooth thing came up. And honestly, Victoria, my mental health is just as important as my dental health. You of all people should understand that. I let it go. That was my mistake. The second warning came 6 months after that. Mom called me crying at 2 a.m., saying she was going to lose the house Dad had left her because she'd fallen behind on mortgage payments. I'm $12,000 in the hole, she sobbed. They're starting foreclosure proceedings. I don't know what to do. I was in Chicago for a conference, exhausted from a 14-hour day of presentations. Without thinking it through, without asking for documentation, I transferred $12,000 from my carefully built emergency fund. The money I'd been saving to eventually put a down payment on my own place. I'll pay you back, she promised. As soon as I get back on my feet, every penny. She never paid back a single dollar. And 3 months later, I found out from Daniel that she'd refinanced the house right after Dad died, pulling out $80,000 in equity for God knows what. The foreclosure threat might have been real, but it was a crisis entirely of her own making. You need to stop enabling her, Daniel told me bluntly during one of our rare phone calls. You're not helping her. You're just making it possible for her to avoid reality. But I couldn't seem to stop. Some toxic sense of duty, some deep-seated fear of being the bad daughter, kept me locked in this pattern. Even when Rachel staged what she called an intervention, sitting me down with a list of every time Mom had manipulated me financially over the past 3 years. $5,000 for fake dental work. $12,000 for a mortgage crisis she created. $800 here and there for utilities that you later found out weren't even overdue. Victoria, you've given her at least $23,000 in 2 years, and she hasn't changed at all. She's gotten worse. I knew Rachel was right, but knowing something and being ready to act on it are two very different things. I thought I'd finally gotten smart by keeping my distance, by refusing to lend her any more money. I thought parking my car at her place was safe because it wasn't cash, couldn't be spent. I'd forgotten that my mother was nothing if not creative when it came to getting what she wanted. The day she sold my car, I was in Singapore wrapping up a 3-month consulting project that was supposed to be the big break in my career. The client was a major tech firm, and my team had just successfully implemented a system overhaul that would save them millions annually. I should have been celebrating. Instead, I was on the phone with my mother, trying to understand what she'd just done. Mom, you can't just sell someone else's car. That's my property. The title is in my name. Actually, honey, the title was in the glove compartment, and I signed your name. It's not that hard. The buyers were this sweet young couple, and they really needed a reliable vehicle. My blood ran cold. You forged my signature? Oh, don't be so dramatic. I'm your mother. It's not forgery when it's family. Besides, you've been gone for months. I needed the driveway space, and you weren't using it. I was using it. I was coming back to drive it home next week when I land. Well, it's sold now. The money's already spent anyway. I had some unexpected expenses come up. That phrase, unexpected expenses. It was her catch-all excuse for everything, her magic words that were supposed to make me understand and forgive and definitely not ask questions about where the money actually went. Something inside me cracked in that moment. Not loudly, not obviously. Just a clean, quiet fracture, like ice breaking on a frozen lake. For the first time in my adult life, I didn't make excuses for her. I didn't try to understand. I didn't swallow my anger to keep the peace. That's theft, Mom. What you did is legally theft. And fraud for forging my signature. You're being ridiculous. I'm your mother. You wouldn't actually take legal action against your own mother over an old car. She said it with such confidence, such certainty that I'd fall in line like I always had. But she'd miscalculated this time. She'd pushed too far, assumed too much. We'll see about that, I said quietly and hung up. That night, lying in my hotel room in Singapore, I couldn't sleep. The rage was there, hot and justified, but underneath it was something else. Curiosity. A nagging sense that this car sale wasn't just impulsive theft. It felt desperate, urgent. Mom had sold my car and spent the money within hours. What kind of unexpected expense required $8,500 immediately? And more importantly, where had all the other money gone? The life insurance, the home equity, the thousands I'd given her over the years? I opened my laptop and started digging. Mom and I shared a cell phone plan, one of the last threads connecting us financially. I'd kept her on my plan after Dad died because it seemed like a small kindness, a way to help without enabling. Now I logged into the account and pulled up her phone records for the past 6 months. The first thing I noticed was the frequency of calls to one particular number. A local number, called multiple times per day, often late at night. Sometimes the calls lasted hours. I plugged the number into a reverse lookup service. Marcus Holloway. Age 34. Address in Riverside, about 40 minutes from Mom's place in Anaheim. I stared at the name, trying to place it. I'd never heard Mom mention a Marcus. But those phone records didn't lie. She'd called this number 347 times in 6 months. He'd called her back 289 times. My next search was her credit card statements. I had access to one of her cards, a joint account from when Dad was alive that had never been closed. Mom didn't know I could still view the transactions. What I found made my stomach turn. Charges at expensive restaurants, always for 2 people based on the amounts. Hotel rooms in Santa Barbara, San Diego, Palm Springs. A $3,400 charge at a jewelry store. Multiple charges at men's clothing stores in amounts that couldn't possibly be for my 60-year-old mother. And then I saw it. The pattern I'd missed before because I wasn't looking for it. Every major purchase, every hotel stay, every expensive dinner coincided with money she'd asked me for. The $5,000 for dental work went out 2 days after she'd spent $4,800 at a resort in San Diego. The $12,000 for mortgage payments followed a $2,300 shopping spree and a $1,800 weekend in wine country. She'd been using my money to fund a relationship with a man 15 years her junior while crying poor to her daughter. I felt sick. Then I felt furious. Then I felt something cold and calculating settle over me, something I'd never felt toward my mother before. Determination. Focus. A complete absence of guilt. I spent the next 3 days methodically building a file. Every text message where she'd lied about needing money. Every credit card statement showing what she'd actually spent it on. Every phone record showing her constant contact with Marcus Holloway. I created a spreadsheet with dates, amounts, and descriptions. I took screenshots of everything. Then I hired a private investigator. I know it sounds extreme, but something told me there was more to this story than just Mom having a secret boyfriend. The desperation in selling my car, the amounts of money disappearing, it all suggested something bigger. The investigator, a woman named Sarah Chen who came highly recommended from one of my work contacts, got back to me in 48 hours. "Your mother is being scammed," she said bluntly on our video call. "This Marcus Holloway? He's 34 years old, unemployed, has a record for fraud and theft. He's got at least 2 other women over 50 on the hook right now that I could identify. Classic romance scam targeting widows. He makes them feel young and desired, then slowly drains their resources." She pulled up photos on her screen. Marcus was handsome in a practiced way, the kind of good looks that came from careful grooming rather than genetics. In every photo with my mother, his arm was around her, his smile bright, her expression absolutely radiant. Based on your credit card records and what I've been able to piece together, she's given him somewhere between $90,000 and $120,000 over the past 18 months, Sarah continued. The car sale was probably urgent because he needed money for something specific. These guys usually have a rotating set of financial emergencies. Sick mother, business investment, legal trouble. There's always something. I sat there in my hotel room, the Singapore skyline glittering through my window, and felt absolutely nothing. The rage had burned itself out into something colder. Something focused. Can you get me everything? I asked. Every detail about him, every other woman he's scamming, every lie he's told my mother? I can. But Victoria, I should tell you that in these cases, the victim usually doesn't believe they're being scammed. Even with evidence, they often choose the fantasy over reality. Your mother might not thank you for exposing this. I don't need her thanks, I said. I just need the truth. The package Sarah sent me 3 days later was damning. Marcus Holloway had been running romance scams for at least 6 years. He had 5 different women he was currently dating, all of them over 50, all of them recently widowed or divorced. He had a script he used, nearly identical love letters and text messages sent to each of them. There were court records from 2 previous victims who'd pressed charges after losing their retirement savings. He'd served 8 months for fraud and been released 2 years ago. He hadn't learned his lesson, he'd just gotten better at not leaving evidence. And my mother was his current primary target. The evidence showed he was extracting money from her faster than any of his other victims, probably because she had the house to refinance and a daughter he'd heard about who could be tapped for loans. I flew back to California on a Friday, landing at LAX at 6:30 p.m. I didn't tell my mother I was coming. I drove straight from the airport to her house in my rental car, the folder of evidence on the passenger seat. Her driveway was empty where my Honda should have been parked. In its place was a shiny new pickup truck, definitely not something my mother would drive. I sat there for a moment, gripping the steering wheel, preparing myself. The front door opened before I could knock. Mom stood there in clothes I didn't recognize, expensive-looking athleisure where that probably cost more than my entire work wardrobe. Her hair was freshly colored, her nails manicured. She looked better than she had in years, and that somehow made it worse. Victoria, what are you doing here? You didn't tell me you were coming back early. We need to talk, Mom. Her expression shifted, a wariness creeping into her eyes. If this is about the car, I already told you I'll pay you back when I can. It's not about the car. Well, not just about the car. I pushed past her into the house. Everything looked different. New furniture, new decorations, fresh paint on the walls. This wasn't the house of a woman struggling financially. This was the house of someone spending money they didn't have. Who's Marcus? I asked, turning to face her. The color drained from her face. How do you know about Marcus? Who is he, Mom? She straightened her spine, defiant. He's my boyfriend. Not that it's any of your business. I'm allowed to have a personal life, Victoria. I'm allowed to move on from your father. You're allowed to move on. You're not allowed to steal from me to fund it. You're not allowed to refinance Dad's house and blow through $80,000. You're not allowed to take $23,000 from me under false pretenses. I didn't steal. Yes, you did. Every time you lied about what you needed money for, that was theft. Every time you spent my money on him instead of what you claimed you needed it for, that was fraud. She crossed her arms. You're being cruel. I fell in love. Is that a crime? After everything I went through losing your father, don't I deserve happiness? Of course you do, I said, my voice steady despite the anger coursing through me. But not with my money. Not with money you got through lies. And Mom, he's scamming you. What? I opened my folder and started laying out documents on her new coffee table. Marcus Holloway, age 34, convicted fraudster. He has 5 other girlfriends right now, all of them older women, all of them widowed or divorced. He's running the same scam on all of you. That's not true. You're lying. I hired a private investigator. This is all documented. I showed her the photos of Marcus with other women, the court records from his previous convictions, the evidence of his patterns. She barely glanced at them. Those could be anyone. You're making this up because you can't stand to see me happy. Mom, he's taken over $100,000 from you in less than 2 years. We're building a life together. He's starting a business, and yes, I've been helping him financially because that's what partners do. What business? I asked. She hesitated. He's opening a restaurant. Well, a food truck franchise. It's complicated. There is no business, Mom. There never was. He's going to take everything you have and disappear. That's what he does. It's documented. He's done it before. You don't know him like I do, she said, but her voice wavered slightly. I know he sold my car without my permission and forged my signature. I know he's spent every penny I've given you that was supposed to be for mortgage payments and dental work and utilities. Marcus didn't sell your car. I did. At his instruction, because he needed money urgently. The way she looked away told me everything. Mom, I'm not here to judge you for falling in love. I'm here because this man is a criminal and he's destroying your life. He's going to leave you broke and alone, and I can't just stand by and watch it happen. You don't understand. Marcus loves me. He makes me feel alive again in a way I haven't felt since your father died. You're just jealous because I found someone and you're still alone. That stung more than I wanted to admit. This has nothing to do with my relationship status. This is about you being victimized by a con artist. Get out, she said quietly. What? Get out of my house. If you're just going to come here and try to ruin the one good thing in my life, then I don't want you here. I stood there, folder in hand, looking at my mother and realizing I didn't recognize her anymore. Or maybe I was finally seeing her clearly for the first time, and that was even worse. Fine, I said. I'll go. But I'm not going to stand by and let him steal from you using my name and my credit. I'm taking you off my phone plan effective immediately. I'm closing the credit card account we share. And if you or Marcus try to use my identity for anything else, I'm pressing charges for fraud and theft. The car sale was illegal, Mom. I have documentation of the forgery. I'm prepared to take legal action if necessary. You wouldn't dare. I'm your mother. You were my mother. Right now, you're just someone who stole from me and chose a con artist over her own daughter. I walked out, leaving the folder of evidence on her coffee table. She didn't follow me. Sitting in my rental car in her driveway, I called the phone company and had her line disconnected from my account. I called the credit card company and closed the joint account. Then I called Rachel. It's done, I told her. She chose him. I'm sorry, Vic. Don't be. I did what I could. She's an adult. If she wants to be scammed, I can't stop her. But I could protect myself, and that's exactly what I did over the next few days. I filed a police report about the car theft and the forged signature. I contacted my insurance company to make sure Mom couldn't make claims using my identity. I changed all my passwords and security questions. I built a wall between my life and hers that she couldn't breach. The first text came 2 days later. Please call me. We need to talk. I deleted it without responding. Then came the emails. Subject lines like, I'm your mother, and family shouldn't treat each other this way, and you're breaking my heart. I didn't open any of them. Rachel stayed with me through those first difficult weeks. You did the right thing, she kept saying. You can't save someone who doesn't want to be saved. Daniel called when he heard what happened. I should have warned you better, he said. She did the same thing to me with that car money back in high school. Dad covered for her then, smoothed it over. I thought maybe she'd changed after he died. I guess people don't really change. No, I agreed. They just get better at hiding who they are. 3 weeks after our confrontation, a registered letter arrived at my apartment. It was from a lawyer representing my mother, demanding I return the $8,500 from the car sale because, according to the letter, I had abandoned the vehicle at her property and she had every right to dispose of it. I forwarded the letter to my own lawyer, along with all the documentation I'd gathered. "This should be interesting," my attorney said dryly. The response we sent back included not just a refusal but a counterclaim for the $23,000 she'd fraudulently obtained from me, plus documentation of her other financial crimes. We gave her 30 days to return my money or face a lawsuit that would become public record, exposing her relationship with Marcus and all the details of his other scams. Her lawyer stopped responding after that. But Mom didn't stop trying. 6 weeks after I'd cut her off, she showed up at my apartment. I saw her through the peephole, looking smaller somehow, older. She knocked for 5 solid minutes before finally leaving. The envelope she left was thick. Inside was a check for $8,500, payment for the car. No note, just the check. I deposited it, but it didn't feel like a victory. It felt sad and hollow and final. Sarah Chen, the private investigator, called me 2 months later with news. Marcus Holloway was arrested last week. One of his other victims finally pressed charges, and once the police started digging, everything unraveled. He's looking at 15 to 20 years for fraud, theft, and identity crimes. Turns out he wasn't just taking money, he was opening credit cards in his victims' names. Did my mother press charges? I asked. No. She actually tried to post his bail initially, but she didn't have the money. From what I understand, she's broke. Had to sell the house last month. I felt that news hit somewhere deep, but I didn't let myself react. Where is she now? Staying with a friend, apparently. The house sale gave her enough to pay off the mortgage and not much else. Everything she had is gone. I thanked Sarah for the update and sat with the information. My mother had lost everything. Her home, her money, her dignity, her daughter. And for what? For a man who'd been using her the entire time, who'd probably never felt anything real for her at all. I could have felt vindicated. I could have felt that she'd gotten what she deserved. But mostly I just felt exhausted. Daniel called me that same day. Have you heard? He asked. About Marcus? Yeah. About Mom too. She called me asking for money. I said no. She actually seemed surprised, like she thought I'd forgotten everything from our childhood. Are you going to help her at all? There was a long pause. I'll make sure she doesn't end up on the street. But beyond that, she made her choices, Vic. We both tried to warn her. She chose not to listen. 3 months after Marcus's arrest, I got a voicemail from my mother. I'd changed my number, but she'd somehow gotten the new one. Her voice sounded thin and tired. Victoria, I know you probably don't want to hear from me. I know I messed up. Everything you said about Marcus was true. He took everything. The house is gone. I'm staying with my friend Janet right now. I don't expect you to forgive me or help me. I just wanted you to know I'm sorry. About the car, about the lies, about choosing him over you. You were right and I was wrong and I'll probably never be able to make it up to you. But I wanted you to know I finally see it now. I hope you're okay. I saved the voicemail but didn't call back. Not because I was being cruel, but because I didn't know what to say. Sorry didn't erase $23,000 in stolen money. Sorry didn't undo the betrayal of selling my car and forging my name. Sorry was just a word, and words were what Mom had always been good at. It was the actions that told the real story. Rachel asked me if I was going to respond. Eventually, I told her. But not yet. She needs to sit with the consequences for a while. She needs to understand that she can't just apologize and have everything go back to normal. What about you? Rachel asked. How are you dealing with all this? Honestly, I was doing better than I expected. The anger had faded, leaving behind something clearer. I'd learned an important lesson about boundaries, about the difference between helping someone and enabling them. I'd learned that sometimes love isn't enough, that you can't save someone from their own bad decisions. And I'd learned that I was stronger than I thought. I'd stood up to my mother, set firm boundaries, and followed through even when it was hard. That wasn't easy, but it was necessary. 6 months after everything fell apart, I finally responded to Mom's voicemail with a brief text message. I got your message. I'm not ready for a relationship right now, but I hope you're getting the help you need. We can talk when I'm ready. Her response came immediately. Thank you for responding. Take all the time you need. I'll be here when you're ready. I didn't know if we'd ever repair our relationship. Maybe we would, maybe we wouldn't. But for now, I was focused on my own life, my own boundaries, my own future. I'd bought a new car, a sleek silver Mazda that was entirely mine. I'd gotten a promotion at work. I'd started therapy to work through the complicated feelings about family and betrayal and forgiveness. Daniel and I had gotten closer through all this. He understood what it was like to be failed by a parent, to have to choose yourself over them. We had dinner once a month now, comparing notes on our recovery from the childhood we'd shared. Do you think she'll ever really change? I asked him over sushi one night. He considered it carefully. I think she'll learn to be more careful. Whether that's the same as change, I don't know. But it's not our job to fix her anymore, Vic. That's the important thing to remember. He was right. My mother's problems were her own to solve. My job was to live my life, protect my boundaries, and build a future that didn't include cleaning up her messes. Looking back now, a full year after she sold my car, I can see how that single act was actually a gift in disguise. It forced me to finally see clearly what I'd been avoiding for years. It pushed me to set boundaries I should have set long ago. It taught me that you can love someone and still refuse to be destroyed by them. The car itself was replaceable. My self-respect wasn't. My financial security wasn't. My peace of mind wasn't. And for the first time in my life, I chose to protect those things over protecting my mother from the consequences of her own actions. That's the lesson I want to pass on to anyone reading this who's dealing with a similar situation. You're not obligated to set yourself on fire to keep someone else warm, not even family. Especially not family who's proven they'll use your love against you. Have you ever had to cut off a family member for your own well-being? How did you handle the guilt and the pressure to reconcile? Share your story in the comments below. And if this resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe for more stories about setting boundaries and choosing yourself. The truth is, some relationships aren't worth saving. Some people will keep taking from you until there's nothing left, and they'll blame you for finally having empty hands. The strongest thing you can do isn't to keep giving. It's to walk away. My mother taught me that lesson, though not in the way she intended. And for that, strange as it sounds, I'm actually grateful. Because I'm finally free.